Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the most must-see podcast here in the NJSSL. Welcome to the one, the only, the Cutting Redge. We are joined live today by former Patriot for this football season. He is a longtime NJSSL member, former guest that we had multiple times on the show. He is a former basketball champion with his most recent team, the Enlightened Elite. And outside of that, he's done pretty much nothing in the entire NJSSL. Please welcome the one and only Abbas Razvi.
Excellent. Salam alaikum to you.
Walaikum salam, brother. Literally, and in the figurative meaning of the word brother.
How about the way black people use it?
That too. I was trying not to say that because PC. But we're never here PC on the Cutting Redge. So good. So Babis, it's been a wild season here in the NJSL for football. The playoffs have been a very wild showing, I must say. And we're here today. We're gonna recap the entire playoffs as we prepare for our championship matchup, which is the game to watch. The Falcons versus the Cowboys, the 1 and 2 seeds going head to head, the two teams that were 4-1. Last time these two teams met, the Cowboys, they talked a big game. They could not show up, and the Falcons took that win easily took that win. We'll see if they're going to be able to do it again this time. Last time, there was no Yafa, there was no Mehdi Joffrey. There was a lot of missing factors on the field. This time it's going to be similar. There's no Zan Mumtaz for the Falcons. There's no Rayan Aladina for the Cowboys.
Wow.
We're going to see how these things play in, a factor. But so far, from your viewpoint from last week's games and the first week's games, how did you feel of this playoffs? Was it going the way that you expected it? Was it different? Tell me.
Well, I was hoping, since I was on the Patriots, of course, had the two-time defending champ Ali Shah commission himself.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be more or less a guaranteed victory one way or the other. But of course, nothing is guaranteed in life or in the NJSSL, and it was kind of hard as it is to win a championship one time. He did 2 times in a row, and to three-peat. And no dice. I think ZJ had the same problem back in
basketball.
The basketball side, right? Yeah. It's just very difficult. Every season gets, you're more of a target, and things get harder and harder. There's more talent in the league. There's a lot more factors.
Absolutely.
And sadly, didn't go out right. But otherwise, there's 6 teams. Any of them could have won it, or can win it, or go distance. And right now, the 2 that are there, Falcons and Cowboys. Let's see what happens.
We'll see. Well, speaking of ZJ, speaking of Ali Shah, the first matchup that we had in this NJSL playoffs was between the 3 seed and the 6 seed, the Patriots and the 49ers, Ali Shah's team versus ZJ's team. Now, you mentioned already that ZJ is a former repeat champion but couldn't get the 3-peat done. Ali Shah was a repeat champion and now couldn't get the 3-peat done. And I'm gonna bring this point back up when we get to the Cowboys game with the Patriots. But how was that game for the 49ers? The 49ers probably, they put up, a good fight, I thought, against the Patriots. But unfortunately, they just could not get it done. Big shout out to Ayan Hussein. I think that was probably his best game all season. And he's really been a big player offensively for the 49ers. Unfortunately, if Ayan Hussein is a big player on your team, then your team's just not that good, unfortunately. How did that game go for you as you were playing it?
I think that game was, the Niners definitely came to play. Obviously, we had played them the week before also, and then we ended up playing them again, or recall correctly, the week before they played them again. But, the thing is, they were, or maybe we went 2 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
The thing is going into the playoffs, everything just resets, especially since all 6 teams make it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was all irrelevant what happened in the regular season. And, ZJ's a veteran. You got a lot of veteran guys on that team. You have NZ, who's proven himself. You have Shabby Bite. Obviously, as you mentioned, Ayan, upcoming star. And then, of course, Zuni. We forgot Zuni. He's the captain of that team.
True.
So
he's very, very forgettable guy this season, then, Zuni.
Yeah, I guess he took a little step back, but, it happens, Yeah. So anyway, so the season was tough, but they regrouped. And they came to play, and they played very well. And I think the problem that, we couldn't really do well against them this time around, and they held their own defensively, kept the game close. And then the problem they had was the kicker, or lack thereof. That might have been the
what was the final score in this game?
Final score in that game was 7-6. We beat them 7-6,
and all because of that missed extra point.
Missed extra point, but there are a couple other mistakes if you want to discuss that as we go along. We can discuss it right now. If you like.
Discuss it right now. You tell me.
A couple other classical mistakes from the
49
Khan brothers, specifically from Rack and HK. Not necessarily mistakes, but obviously we were up 7-6. They got the ball back with a chance to at least have a shot either winning or tying the game.
Yes.
Or, sorry, not tying the game, but winning the game with a field goal or a touchdown.
I feel like there was a penalty coming along the way at the end of the story.
Yeah. There's no penalty, but if you go before that last drive, there was a 4th down attempt to convert by the Niners. ZJ had a wide open Rack, and Rack just dropped
the ball.
Catches the ball, he could have had a first down. Could have continued that drive. They were down 7-6 at that point.
That's tough, and maybe that's not entirely on Rack. Honestly, I'd have to go back to the tape to see. Rack is usually a short-handed guy for somebody who gets like short passes. Yeah. So maybe the pressure got to him. Maybe it was not a great pass, but certainly. What was the next debacle?
I think the pass was a good pass.
Okay.
Maybe poor guy, but he felt the footsteps probably of Q or somebody about to tackle him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyhow, the other debacle is obviously we got the ball, but they got the ball back with just very little time on the ball, in the game. And that last drive, it was basically a random ZJ pass to Bassel, who ran down for about 60 yards, got tackled by Molson Bunglish, who made a huge hustle. And that was a great play by Molson Bunglish, great play by ZJ, great play by Bassel getting open. They all made plays, and that gave an opportunity. Then that brings in enter HK into the fold. Yes, correct, absolutely. ZJ chucks up what's basically your Hail Mary pass. HK had an opportunity. It was more or less he was the guy right there. It just went right through his hands. I think he was in the end zone. He had a couple defenders there. It was in his hands literally.
That's tough,
right? And then that's it. And then that's how the game ended.
And it's tough, So certainly the 49ers sounds like they had a few opportunities that were missed. And it goes back to the earlier part in the season. I don't remember who pointed this out, but somebody pointed out that the 49ers' struggles may very well be due to the fact that they're the eldest team in the league. They're the most eldest guys, and perhaps having a younger team or having younger guys instead of older guys, despite their skill level certainly being good, that might have come in handy, in these key clutch moments where you need to score the touchdown, you need to catch those, get that first down, whatever it is. But one old guy after another, and next thing you know, you have the Bucs basically all over again.
You do have the Bucs,
but clearly not as strong.
You do have the Bucs, but the Bucs, proved themselves after.
That's the thing. The 49ers weren't as strong as the Bucs. Good God. Anyways,
that's true.
So with that, the 49ers dropped down. They were the 6th seed. They lost first round of the playoffs, and their playoff hopes and aspirations came to an end.
Correct.
Let's talk about the other game of that first round of the wild card playoffs. Mm-hmm. So it was the 4 and the 5 seed. So the Texans against the Giants. Now the Texans were the 4 seed, I believe, going into this game, if I'm not mistaken, at 2 and 3, and the Giants were 1 and 5, if I'm not mistaken, and they were 1 and 4 rather. That might be right. That might be wrong. But either way, they were the 4 and 5 seeds. Now with Sharuk and pretty much most of the Giants team back, this was expected to be a much stronger game for the Giants. I think they were actually favored by a lot of guys to win. What was the final score in that game, Abbas?
Final score was actually 7-0. The Giants to beat the Texans,
and I believe that final touchdown was on the last drive of the game, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
That was correct.
So honestly, it's interesting. So a big point here that I want to point out is that with Sharuk, who was their first round pick, the Giants were 2 and 2.
Mm-hmm. Were they 2 and 2? Before you said they were 1.
No, they won this game against the Texans.
Yeah.
And they won one other game of the season.
Yeah.
And then they lost one game in the season with Sharuk. Yeah. And then they lost in the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah. So this game with including the game with the playoffs, including the playoffs.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Okay, yes. So I guess my point here is that if when your first guy is when your top guy is there, the best you can do is 2 and 2. Mm-hmm. He's clearly not that top of a guy, right?
That's a fair point.
I don't know. I'm just saying, there's no reason that you should be losing 2 games when other teams don't have their top guys, especially.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point.
It's just I don't know.
I think Shark wasn't very locked in this season for football, because
I feel like he's just not locked in for football in general. I mean, no offense, he's just a basketball guy, but he is obviously the most athletic guy in the NJSSL, absolutely deserving of that first round pick. But I just think that when it comes to football, there's probably better options in terms of guys who have the heart and the grit and will put it all out on the field day in and day out.
That goes back to the captain who drafted Shark. He could have foregone Shark and made
perhaps
or whoever else was taking next after him or whoever.
Yeah,
that was his choice. He went with the athletic guy.
Yeah, and it did not pan out. But it's not on him, right? So certainly the team really had hope. I think the big issue with the Giants. Well, actually, let's not talk about the issue with the Giants until we talk about their loss. Let's talk about the issue with the Texans. First of all, the Giants, half their guys didn't even show up all season, and they somehow found a way to put together 7 points at the end. And I think the key guy in that game was Shazan Khan, who is, mostly irrelevant when it comes to football because he's just never there. So, I don't know how you let that guy come in and score 7 points on you. And if you're the Texans, I don't know how you don't make any offensive effort. I mean, you got it. I said this at the beginning of the season. You have a bunch of goofballs on that team. And I don't know, unless they have the right personnel to get all the guys situated and make sure people know what they're supposed to do. It's a hopeless team.
Yeah, I think though the problem in this specific game was the defensive line of the Giants seemed to be getting through, putting a lot of pressure on Zaha, and he became irrelevant the whole game.
So where was the offensive line? We've highlighted the offensive line for the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Duffy, Safir, there's a couple other guys that I can't remember at the very moment. Faison himself. So those guys need to step up. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah. I don't know if that was solely the problem, but whatever reason the offense just couldn't get going. 0 points.
They could not get going.
Maybe that's more to the Giants defense. They showed up.
Now, one key factor is that Shojanko, whenever he's there, so far the Texans, they have won those games. The other guy, I feel like that number 7 guy, Muhammad, I think when he ended up showing up, they usually had better games too. Mm-hmm. I feel like he's been absent the last few weeks. And I don't know, was Shojanko there that week when they lost?
I thought Shojanko was there.
Oh,
don't recall him, but I feel like he was there.
Then Texans, you guys have no excuse for losing that game. I don't really know what to tell you. The Giants, they're not very good. They don't really have much of an offense, so I don't know how you let them score, but go figure. Anyways, I don't know. That's all I have to say about that game, unless you have anything else to add.
Yeah, well, we got to give credit to Shazan Khan. They put him in, nothing was going on with Ken. Ken had a good drive where they got into the red zone. Had an opportunity to kick a field goal, but they just had to go for it, I think, on 4th down. I don't know if that was a mistake, or maybe Zach wanted to actually kick a field goal, but they didn't. They ended up going for it. They didn't get they ended up being a turnover run down.
They don't really have much of a kicker, I don't think, so maybe that's why they didn't go for the field goal.
Is up? Did he look here?
Yeah, I mean,
key guy. Yeah. But he also was kind of locked in, not very locked in the season.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyhow, I think they wanted to, but they didn't.
I feel like if you get him an NJSSL golf season, then all these guys will be locked in. Zod and Sharuk, and pretty much half the Giants team.
I guess that'll be next. That'll be next. We'll see what happens with the commission. The crew decides.
Yeah,
soccer's coming up, so
we'll see what happens.
But anyway, they put Shazan in. Shazan
got the job done.
4th down, huge throw up to Sharuk. And that's where Sharuk showed up with a huge play when he needed him. And then Shazan eventually ran it in for a touchdown. And that was the difference in the game.
And there you go.
You gotta give Shazan credit.
Gotta give Shazan credit.
Where's Reg now, he said.
He did say that.
Reg was MIA that day.
Well, Reg was enjoying his bye, so we'll talk about what Reg and Shazan did the following week. But yeah, so then
that was it.
With
Giants got through.
The Texans got eliminated. Yeah. And then, that brings us to our semis. So then we had the Patriots and the Cowboys. So the Patriots, I think that they put up a good fight. The Cowboys certainly put up a good fight. One thing I noted is that, that there was a false start call or something like that at the end of the game that ZJ, I believe, called. And part of me wonders if ZJ called that call because he didn't want Shaw to get the 3-peat before ZJ got the 3-peat. I don't know, it was a great play. I thought it was well done. I don't know if that false, it was a questionable false start, and I don't know if it really would have made any difference on the play itself.
Yeah.
So I just wonder,
It's this tough situation.
And I know the credit, I feel like the credit still has to go to Yaffa for the Cowboys. I mean, he makes the big plays when they count. And I think that's going to be huge coming into this finals week, as we're going to talk about that. But Yaffa definitely makes the big plays when it counts. The Cowboys defense definitely can put pressure on any team in this league, and so I think it's definitely they're definitely a strong team, and it's going to be a tough game to beat them. But where did the Cowboys falter? I mean, sorry, not the Cowboys. Where did the Patriots falter against this Cowboys defense?
Well, the Cowboys actually, Hossein specifically gave us 2 gifts.
Yeah, to Meeson, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the one to Meeson was the gift, which put us right in, I think, the 15-yard line, red zone. But we just could not move the ball and kind of get a touchdown. So we had to kick a field goal. And separately, I think Nathani got the other pick, which is a nice pick. He went over, I think, Rayon Aladina.
Yeah.
Just ripped the ball away from him. So that wasn't Rayon Hossein. I think that was more so on Rayon. But, you got to give credit to Nathani. He picked it off. Again, right in the red zone. I think in both situations, we were 10-yard line or closer. And we just went 4 or 3 and out and just decided to kick the field goal and not go for it. We were playing a little conservative.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? It turns out that all we could muster was those 6 points off of the turnovers, and that's all we could get. I think our offensive line was a little disheveled for some reason. Things were not working out. They usually do. Like, our offensive line did clean up. Because initially I think you were making fun of it earlier in the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
We cleaned up pretty good. We kind of got to a good level, but somehow we faltered. We just were not getting the proper blocks. The defensive line of the Cowboys, they got it done. They got through when they needed to. I took a bad penalty against On at one point. Shaw himself took a bad penalty by cursing at some point.
Let's rewind a little bit. What happened with the penalty with you and On?
It was towards the end of the game anyway. They subbed me in for offensive line. I was actually on the bench most of that game.
Yeah,
I was kind of chilling. But subbed for offensive line because I think Shaw didn't like the way On and other guys were getting through with the current line we had.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to throwing me in there.
So then what happened?
And I guess it was just that On just did a move, which is kind of like a
it was no flag.
It was like offensive holding on me basically.
Oh,
they called it an offensive holding. Yeah, because I think when I had done a spin move. I thought it was
hooked him.
No, I thought it was like a modified bull rush because I think the rule was you're not supposed to hit a shoulder into the guy's chest. You can bull rush with your hands, but you can't hit a shoulder. I think that's what the rule is supposed to be, which I got shouldered, but and that's what resulted in me. I think I should kind of grabbing on and throwing him to the side, but the ref said that was
that was offensive holding. Hey,
so the refs called it. Anyhow,
you win some, you lose some.
So that was I think on a third down play. The previous to that, Shaw's had to curse, which kind of pushed us back 10 yards on a personal foul.
That's
dumb things like that.
And
of course, as it was, we were out playing very, very, very unsmooth game, uneven game offensively. We couldn't get things going. We couldn't get to our guys in the we couldn't get to Q. We couldn't do nothing. Strugglers.
Yeah, you were basically like the Colts back in the Jim Mora days.
Yeah, I guess like that. Yes, we sucked. We did suck. Yes. So, but anyway, Hossein gave us a chance, but we just couldn't cash in. And then you got credit to the Hossein Tiafa. They stuck with it. Got a 40-yard play.
It's worked many times this season.
And you got to give credit to our team. They pulled it out. Going back to the ref situation, initially ZJ was not one of the refs. I think...
all the more reason.
It might have been ZM who was initially the ref, and he had to move out because of something starting for his game or whatever.
Sure.
But we were actually against ZJ coming in.
Yeah.
But, Q was against, Shaw was against, we were all against. But I guess, somehow ZJ got in there.
Yeah.
And he came and got us at the end. But,
he definitely does. He definitely does.
That was a controversial call. Yes, for sure, you're right. The false start was irrelevant to the play. I did ask DJ afterwards, why you call that? He said he thought it was a false start. And then I said, well, it was very irrelevant to the play because it wasn't like an offensive lineman. It was a wide receiver who false started, I guess.
Yeah.
He couldn't really lead.
And then also the ball didn't go anywhere near him, did he?
I think it was called on Boston Bungash.
Right.
I don't think he was. I think it was Abbas Razvi who caught it and 40 yards. I think it was. I don't recall.
Yeah. I just remember it being irrelevant.
But anyway, he called it. He called it. You got to call it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is what it was. So there you go.
So hopefully the point
the victory and Team Cowboys the victory and friends and Upside Merchant, all Merchant, the whole shebang.
Absolutely. But the hope here, I guess, is that TJ is not gonna, be the ref in the finals. Otherwise, he might come and get me after this.
All right. I think ZJ's gonna be chilling on vacation.
Finals, hopefully.
Yes, sir. So.
All right. So then that brings us to the other game, the Falcons and the Giants. So this one was also a close game. As it's been all season, the Falcons' running game was tough to stop. There's always one or two big plays that lead to a touchdown. And the Giants couldn't stop it. And the Giants' offense just could not get anything going. They had a couple of drives, but they just could not muster a single solid drive that could lead to even a field goal, let alone a touchdown. So certainly, I think big shout outs in this one. I got to shout out Reg for just getting the first sack in the game on Ken, and that kind of took that shortly after Ken was replaced by Shazan. Who actually did have a nice move on me, but ultimately couldn't get the job done, couldn't get anything going. He was replaced by Asad Ghazmi, who did, I will say, there was definitely a few good passes, especially towards the end of the game. Asad seemed to be the most locked-in quarterback of the three, got the ball moving, but just certainly not well enough. And the Falcons' defense, just as they've done all season, shutting teams out, minimizing points scored. So, definitely big shout out to the entire Falcons defense. I think they're going to be looking to kind of, do that again as we get into this finals game. Besides, certainly big shout out to Vali Mirza as always. And pretty much just the entire team. Vali had the rushing touchdown, so that made it 7-0. I think the final score is 10-0. I can't remember. I can't remember if we had like a short field off of an interception, or if it was. Or if we just, had our offense was driving and we got to get into field goal range and scored. But big shout out to our kicking squad as well. And we look forward to, making a solid effort and hopefully a championship victory in the finals here. Did you catch any of our game or no?
I watched briefly the first half. I think a good chunk of part of the first half, but I didn't really catch enough of the action. I think it was 3-0 at that point.
Yeah.
When I left him.
And the touchdown in the second half.
Yeah, it's either the Giants just couldn't get anything going.
Yeah.
They played their best game the week before, or they used all their energy on that game, I guess, and couldn't get things going against a team that already dominated them once in their regular season. So
definitely,
that's what it was. And of course, the Falcons overall were a much more cohesive unit, a very well gelled team throughout the season. Solid offensive line side, solid defense line, solid athlete guys, position players, skill players, and of course ZM anchoring the charge. So you guys took care of business.
Big shout out to Manny Joffrey, who basically pulled Charles flag at every opportunity that he could. Big shout out to ZM and Garachiwala for playing, making sure that nobody else stood out on their offense. So big win all around. That brings us to our final matchup here, and our finals matchup is, again, the Cowboys versus the Falcons. The top two teams of this season. They have pretty much all their threats, except both guys are missing, one major threat. ZM for us, Renan Ledina for the Cowboys. I think this game could go in either direction. Now, certainly, my stance on it is that the Falcons have beat them once before. They have a chance to beat them again. Is where everything comes down to, who's got the better defense. And I think, we have the better defense. The Cowboys have consistently throughout the season had a weak offensive line. I don't anticipate that changing. But, what is your stance on this game, Abbas?
Well, it's kind of really tough if you're missing your quarterbacks when it could be all season.
Half the season.
So, is it half the season?
Yeah, he missed a couple games. And Uddy is the backup.
Okay, I guess that's a very reasonable backup quarterback to have. But the thing is, you also have very brilliant minds like Mr. Dubs. Yourself. MB also. He's but MB's always been a football kind of guy. So, and then of course, the athletes between Wally, Garachiwala, Mehdi, Spidey, and whatnot. Overall, you guys have a very solid roster. Shabazz, of course,
Don't forget Razan Merchant. Big shout out to Razan Merchant. Last time he had 2 sacks on him, stand, I believe, or he definitely had 2 tackles on him. So
huge.
Definitely capable of chasing him down and preventing any big yardage.
But I think with that being said, I just think this is Hussein's year.
You think so?
You, the Chiefs, we played with him, and we had it. We thought we had it, and we did pretty well. We thought we got robbed in that semifinal game against the Eagles on that by the refs, who were kind of in our opinion in a daze.
Yeah,
so, very very happy. But we were so close there, and I don't think Hussein's ever won anything, right?
He's not. He's not had a single championship. He's come close many times, but I think in the semis,
I just think he's going to find a way. Him, Usad Merchant, the Usad Merchant's another brilliant mind football wise. He anchored the Chiefs. I think they're just going to find a way to beat you guys. It's feel coming. I think this is Hussein's year to win it. Because think of I think destiny's on his side. He threw 2 ins last game. Gave us gifts, and somehow they pulled it off.
Still fell off. So I mean. Yeah, that's true.
Missing Renan Ledina is killer because he's the best, allegedly the best kicker in the game. At least top 3 kicker for sure. Yeah. Dominated for the Chiefs last year. So let's call him the best kicker in the game. And
definitely.
It makes a difference not having a kicker.
That's true.
As the 49ers, saw all season long. So,
that's true.
I guess they probably have somebody else couldn't be idea who their backup would be.
Their backup kicker, my guess, would be
is it Hussein himself? Yeah?
No, I don't know. Actually, maybe Yafa. I can see that. Or Mustafa Hassan, probably.
Okay. Well, I guess they have a reasonable backup. You guys have a reasonable backup. So let's see what happens. But I don't know. My money is now on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Hold off one way or the other.
I think the big question in this game is it's going to come down to one team has a better offensive unit in terms of a pass unit. And that's what's saying with his several receiving options, several running options. So one has a better offensive unit in that sense, versus the other team has a better offensive line and can get can make plays because of their offensive line, and find open guys and find good rushes. So and then on the other hand of things, you've got a solid secondary versus a solid defensive line. Solid secondary for the Cowboys, and then a solid defensive line, and short yard blockers, or short yard stoppers basically, for the Falcons. So between those things, if you kind of take all that into account, do you still go? Do you still think the Cowboys pull off the victory?
All the metrics might end up evening out.
That's true. It probably will. It's true. It is true.
And then,
that's true.
It's just talent is what it comes out.
It's really going to come down to who wants it more.
Correct. So who
wants it more.
Correct.
And especially after the Cowboys lost last time, I think they're going to have a lot to prove in this game.
They're hungry.
They're hungry.
That locker room is hungry. That chat, whatever you want to call it, is hungry. You got a lot of guys that that want to get back at you guys.
Yeah.
They feel like they didn't show up that game.
Yeah.
Right. So this year, and I think Hossein is going to play like mistake-free football. I feel like
we'll see.
He's got it.
As long as they don't resort to any like silly cheating on we called a timeout, we didn't call a timeout. I'm wearing one flag, and expecting no one to call that. Yeah. So I'm sure the refs got to be on the lookout for those sort of things.
So the refs are ready to go. From start to end. Don't deal with any sort of antics. So they just get the job done. Have a nice, good, solid game, and the best team win. Inshallah.
Yeah. Inshallah. So I know you said it's Hussein's year, but do you think Hussein's still the odds-on favorite for MVP, or do you think Wally Mirza has that locked in?
I think Wally Mirza is going to have to take the MVP.
So maybe it's his year.
It could be his year. He just made play after play, and every other game was like a pick six.
Yeah, and he had at least 3 on the season.
Yeah. Although he was irrelevant against the Patriots.
That's true. I'll give you that.
Everyone's gonna have a bad game here and there, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, I think you might have to give it to him. But it's tough to say. I mean, any of these guys could really take it, but I think Wally felt he had a really good season.
Absolutely.
But we'll see.
All right, and then hey, just so that everyone remembers, the Cowboys captain Jafar Khan, he went out on camera, second episode or first episode of Cutting Redge, and he said that the Falcons are going to be 0-5, the worst team in the NJSSL history. So that we're gonna see if if he can at least back up some of his word and at least defeat the team that he called out. So we're gonna see what happens. We've got a huge game coming up Sunday, 11 a.m. Catch it live. Heavenly Farms in East Brunswick, New Jersey. You can probably catch it on the NJSSL live YouTube page. But more to come on that. And we thank our sponsors for this NJSSL season, as we have in previous seasons. This episode is brought to you by the Anjuman Shah Mardan, Anjuman Haider Karar, Anjuman Najwan Ali Akbar. Do catch them on live on YouTube, on their pages, on their Instagram pages, wherever you get your social media for the latest Azadari. And inshallah, we hope to see you all on Sunday. Until then, this is the Cutting Redge, your one and only place to get the latest updates in the NJSSL. We look forward to seeing you next season for the NJSSL Soccer League.
Let's do it.
All right.
Good job, Reg.
Until then, stay safe. Good night. Shabbat khair, folks.